Hello everyone. Welcome back. I wanted to kind of give to you today our second course lecture, which is a continuation from the lecture last week, in that it is sort of an introduction to composition. However, whereas the lecture last week focused on the basics of the course and kind of understanding the intricacies of the course, this one's going to kind of delve into the process of writing. Okay? So the first thing I want to talk about, the first thing I want to bring your attention to is this idea of the academic essay. Every final draft of your essays for this course must be written in paragraph format. A paragraph should do/have two things. One, it should focus on one thought, and two, it should contain 5 to 7 non-fragmented sentences. Okay? No longer do we do the whole, a paper is 5 paragraphs long, an introduction and conclusion of body paragraphs. We kind of get away with that once we hit the college level. Okay? All essays, however, must still have the 3 main parts, though. So you should have an introduction, you should have a body, and you should have a conclusion. But your body is going to be way more, hopefully, than 3 paragraphs. So what I want to do now is kind of break down what I mean by these 3 parts. Okay? And we're going to start with the introduction. The introduction should do a few things. 1, obviously, it should introduce your topic. 2, it should introduce your essay setup. And finally, it should introduce your thesis. Okay? Think of it like this. All introductions should follow the reverse triangle format. What do I mean by that? Imagine your introduction as a reverse triangle. You start with a big idea, you shift to kind of an overall topic or criteria, and you end with a thesis statement. Okay, so let's say you're writing a paper about shoes, where your first sentence or 2 is just going to be about the big idea of shoes. Eventually, though, in that same paragraph, you're going to shift, and maybe you don't just want to talk about shoes. Maybe you want to talk about what makes a shoe popular. Okay, so then you say, well, a logo might make it popular, sales might make it popular, or celebrities might make a shoe popular. Okay, and so then you go from this big idea of shoes to a more kind of firm idea of what makes a shoe popular, and then finally you have a thesis statement, which is an argument, something that someone who reads your paper might not agree with. So here's the sample thesis statement. Nike is the most popular shoe. Well, I promise there are people who will argue with you about that, right? You're saying Nike is the most important shoe. Well, what about Keds? Not that anyone wears Keds anymore, but what about those? Okay. What about Adidas? What about every other shoe brand? Right? So this thesis is arguable. The next section of your essay, once you kind of delve into your introduction, your body paragraphs. What I like to stress when you're writing a body paragraph is this idea of the meal plan. Okay, so M, main idea, E, evidence, A, analysis, and L, link. How does that come together? Thinking back on our previous example, we're writing a paper about a shoe. We're talking about what makes a shoe popular. We're arguing that Nike is a popular shoe. And one of our things, one of our kind of ideas with that celebrities also makes a shoe popular. So we'll look at this. Celebrity endorsements are one facet that made Nike a very popular shoe. Serena Williams, a talented tennis player, is one celebrity endorser. Williams is an athlete who a lot of people look up to. Her influence on the spending public is good for a company like Nike. Her ad features her and the famous Nike check logo. Okay, so this very first kind of tab here, that's your main idea. That lets me know that your paragraph is going to be looking at celebrity endorsements. Okay? The second section here is your evidence. Serena Williams, she's a celebrity. She's a tennis player, and she endorses Nike. Okay, that's your proof. Your analysis section asks, how does your evidence support the main idea? So if you're saying that the main idea is that celebrity endorsements make Nike popular, and your evidence is that, well, look at Serena Williams, people kind of look up to her, then you analyze that statement. Why is Serena Williams such a good example to support that main idea? Okay, she's an athlete, people look up to her, and she influences the spending public. She influences the people who are going to go and buy the shoes. And they're going to go and buy the shoes because she wears them. Okay? Your link. Your link tells me where you're going to go in your next paragraph. Okay? So her ad features her and the famous Nike check logo. So this tells me you're still talking about what makes Nike a popular shoe, but you're shifting from celebrity endorsements to logos. And so I would expect your next paragraph to be about the Nike check logo. That's everywhere. Conclusion. The conclusion should do a few things. It should reintroduce your topic. It should reintroduce your essay setup. And it should reintroduce your thesis. And I say reintroduce, but I do not mean restate. Okay? All your conclusions should be a regular triangle. So remember, your introduction is the reverse triangle. Your conclusion should be the regular triangle. Okay, so your conclusions are actually going to start with your kind of stating, or your reintroduction, that's not a word, reintroduction of your thesis statement. Then it's going to kind of give that setup. So logos, sales, and celebrity endorsements make Nike a popular shoe. Okay? That's not the thesis statement word for word, but it's kind of where your argument led. Then you're going to reintroduce your essay setup. Okay? The check mark, the Jordan, and Serena Williams. Right? So the check mark, that's when you're talking about logos. The Jordans, that's when you're talking about sales. Right? Michael Jordan comes out with a shoe every, I don't own any. But that makes for massive sales for Nike. Okay, and Serena Williams, that's going back to your celebrity endorsements. And finally, you want to reintroduce your big idea. Shoes are important to our culture. Okay? You're not restating anything. You're just kind of reintroducing it. Kind of reminding the reader, okay, hey, this is what you just read. And this is why it's important. Okay? Academic discourse. Let's shift gears here and talk a little bit about the roles of the people affected by what you turn in. Okay? All aspects of writing and speaking, but for this class, mostly writing, include three essential parts: the writer, the subject, and the audience. The writer. For every essay, the reader, me, must see you, the writer, as concerned, considerate, well-informed, fair, ethical, careful. If you don't care, why should I? I should read your papers, and you should come across as someone who may not know everything about their topic, but you know enough to present that information to me. Okay? You have to know what you're talking about. Okay? If you don't know what you're talking about, how can I trust you as a writer? How can I believe anything you say? I've never flown a plane. I've ridden in planes, but I've never been a pilot, so I would never write a paper about flying a plane. Okay. The subject. So we've talked about the writer, now let's talk about the subject. The subject is exactly as it sounds. That refers to the topic. What are you writing about? Make sure you always know what your subject is. In this class, most of the subjects are guided, meaning that I give you a specific prompt, but I also give you a little bit of freedom to explore on your own. And you'll see that when we start looking at our first essay. So our first essay is a day in the life of an inanimate object. So it's guided in that I kind of tell you that prompt, but it's also free in that you get to pick your object, you get to pick what your object interacts with. Okay, so make sure you, going back to this idea of being kind of the conscious writer, make sure you pick an object that maybe you've dealt with before, right? So if you play a sport, a lot of athletes tend to write a day in the life of their basketball, or a day in the life of their football, or a day in the life of their cleats, right? That's how you tie in that subject with that writer. And then you have the audience. Who are you writing this for? For this class, never assume that your peers are your audience. Okay? Write your essays as if they are all going to be read by the police, your parents, and a lawyer. I'm not trying to scare you, but I don't want this to turn into a conversation with your friends. Writing is a conversation, but it's a conversation with another intellectual, not another friend. And that's not to say you and your friends can't have intellectual conversations, but your language changes depending on who your audience is, even if it is an intellectual conversation. What do I mean by that? Let's look at the party scenario. Okay, you're at a party. It's 2 a.m. I don't know why you would be at a party at 2 a.m., but it's 2 a.m. The police show up and you, for some reason, get arrested. Maybe there was a noise complaint. Maybe there was suspicious activity. Maybe someone stole a cow. I don't know. You get arrested. Okay? What I want to stress is that your voice and tone changes depending on who you are recounting the story to. If you're texting or Instagramming or Snapchatting your best friend who missed the party, it's going to be shorthand. It's going to be brief. You're going to focus on the positives. Okay? But if you're filling out the police report, it's going to be more descriptive. It's going to be detailed, especially if you were innocent and they picked you up by mistake. That said, if you're talking to your parents when they come to bail you out, that language is going to be more subjective, and it's going to be removed from the situation. It was not me, it was them. Okay? I heard the noise and I came to investigate, but persons X, Y, and Z stole the cow. Writer, that's you, the person telling the story. Subject, the party and what happened. And the audience, your friend, the police, and your parents. Who you're talking to sets the tone and the voice of your language. Okay? Thank you all for listening. I hope this helps. Email me if you have any questions about any of this. Have a great, great day.